Welcome to Independent Homeschooling, or Private Home Educating. My name is Sarah, and I'm a SCOPE member and a chat group leader, as well as an admin of the 3 El Dorado Homeschoolers Network pages. If you haven't found them yet, there's the main page that's largely for charter vendors and discussion, as well as buying and selling. Then there's the EDHN Parents Place page that's only for homeschool parents and discussion. And the EDHN Independence page that's only for private home educators. I've been privately home educating since 1999. We've graduated 3 and are still schooling 2. We went this route because of personal convictions and my husband's weird schedule, and we wouldn't have changed it at all. In the Sacramento region, we're blessed to have a group called SCOPE, which stands for Sacramento Christian Organization of Parent Educators. I'm going to use their PowerPoint presentation since it's already put together. But if you are not religious, please just ignore what doesn't apply to you. SCOPE itself is biblically based, completely run by parent volunteers, provides valuable resources, and a lot of support and educational opportunities. So, why privately educate our kids? This kind of sounds daunting. What about the money we won't be getting? Can I really do this without a charter ST keeping me on track? What if I totally mess my kids up? Well, what's the purpose of education? The fact that you're here means that you're not liking some of the things that you're seeing going on in the public school system. So let's look at the real purposes. We want our kids to be pretty smart. We want to develop the areas they're good at or especially enjoy. We want them to be employable. We may want them to learn to love the Lord more deeply. We want them to develop manners and character that bless them and others. And for many of us, we have to consider, is our highest concern what college they get into or whether they're with us in heaven? The definition of education, according to Noah Webster in 1828, the bringing up as of a child, instruction and discipline, which is intended to enlighten the understanding, correct the temper, and form the manners and habits of youth, and fit them for usefulness in their future stations. Also, to give children a good education in manners, arts, science is important. To give them religious education is indispensable. And an immense responsibility rests on parents and guardians who neglect these duties. So if you haven't already, you'll want to really take some time to decide what your philosophy and approach are going to be. Scripturally, we have some direction, and there are a lot more verses than this. So how do we do this? And can you really do this? You can. We have several organizations that have fought for our right to privately home educate for the past few decades, and their lobbyists and attorneys are still in our capitals and courts today. So the following information comes from these groups. CHIA, the Christian Home Educators Association, unites the voices of home educators across the state. So this is for California. They provide support to home educators, a directory of support groups, and homeschool materials, help and encouragement through a variety of options, as well as leadership training, awards, and scholarships. HSLDA, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. This group is huge. They are full-time attorneys, 24/7, a staff always there for your needs. They have 30 plus years of defending home education across the nation. They also provide information on special parts of schooling. They have a used curriculum marketplace and a magazine. And I always recommend that you join HSLDA before you begin homeschooling, before you withdraw children from school, and before you receive any kind of legal challenge. And the Family Protection Ministries. They defend parental rights. They track and analyze state legislation. They're in the Capitol. They've got lobbyists on our behalf all the time. They monitor state home education laws. and they support home education, or they have been since the very beginning. So how do we legally homeschool outside of the public system? There are 4 options. We can establish a home-based private school. We can enroll in a private school program. We can hire a tutor who is a credentialed teacher. Or we can enroll in an independent study program or charter school. We are compelled by law to school our children, to educate them, and we have 2 basic routes. We can go the public school route, which may look like public charter schools. It may look like an independent study program, or it may be the traditional campus-based type program. Or we can be a public school, or enroll in public school, or private school. We're exempted from public school if we're a private school. We can hire a tutor, or under the private school exemption, we can go to a campus-based private school like you're familiar with, or be a part of PSP or a single-family private school, and this is where we'll be focusing today. To be a home-based private school, we need to file a private school affidavit. This creates a private school in our home. That's usually filed in the fall, online. We need to offer instruction in the several branches of study required in the public schools. Instructors must be capable of teaching, and don't be scared by that. It doesn't mean we need any kind of special education. Instruction must be in English, and we are to maintain pupil and school records, a cumulative file. What do I have to do? Well, course of study seriously means you say, I'm going to teach 6th grade math, and I'm going to use Saxon 7-6 to teach it. You write that down, and there's your math course of study. Attendance records for each child and report cards for each year. Those can be blanks, can be printed off, and you just fill those in occasionally. Just keep general records. Health and immunization records. We are not required to vaccinate. We just need to have records available. And all you have to do for qualifications, for teacher qualifications, is have an idea who the teacher is in your private school and who the principal is, and write down what their qualifications are. If that means you finished high school, that's what you write down. If you had 2 years of junior college, that's what you write down. You don't need anything special, just a record. And as you go along, if you go to conferences or trainings, you can add those to your qualifications, but that's all it means. I have literally, in 21 years, never had to show anyone any of this. If I ever did, I wouldn't. I would call HSLDA and I would let them handle it all. That's their job. Also remember that the number of days that school districts require are based on a regular school year. You can adjust to your needs. Many families choose a 4-day week and school some through the summer. Your schedule is completely up to you. A PSP does a lot of the paperwork details for you while still allowing you to choose what, how, and when you teach, which is really cool because that's what we want. We want to be in charge of our children's education. But they're nice because they're keeping track of your transcripts. They're providing a diploma at graduation, driver's ed, just all kinds of things can be kept track of and provided through a PSP. Hiring a tutor is always an option, a credentialed teacher if that's what you would like to do. The other option is to public school at home through a charter or independent study program. Here are some of the problems I see with that. I will clarify, though, that many charters will allow you to purchase religious curriculum with your own money, but it won't count toward their requirements. So you'll still need to do history their way in addition to your Christian history if you were doing something like that. Also, charters that don't have on-site classes of any kind are currently not having to enforce mandatory vaccination laws. I'm going to give you a minute to read and consider this page and kind of think about where your convictions lie. So if you choose to school independently, how do you know what to teach? Well, there are the basics that we generally want to make sure are covered at some point. One of the nice things about privately home educating is that we get to choose how and when they're covered. We know our kids better than anyone else, and we know their abilities, their interests, and what's going on in the lives of our family. If we're worried about keeping them at the expected grade level, there are options. But I encourage us all to remember what's best emotionally and spiritually for our kids and for our family before worrying about what some education specialist says. There have been weeks and months when our family was going through really hard stuff, and we needed to focus on getting through that time well. What my kids learned about life and coping during those times was, I believe, far more important than whatever textbook lessons they missed out on. So always keep your family's education philosophy and end goals in mind. One of the things I love about homeschooling is that life becomes school. How fun is that? In today's day and age, we all have access to any information we want to find. What's most important is to teach our kids to love learning. If they graduate without knowing everything, but still love to learn, they're going to be okay. So let's use our everyday time to encourage that. As you plan your schooling, you'll obviously want to take into account what works best for you and your teaching style, the number and ages of the students learning styles, and what method best fits what you have. Delight-directed is often called unschooling. Believe it or not, these students do as well in college as those who sat down at a desk with a bunch of textbooks, sometimes even better. All of these methods can do great things for your kids. So once you've decided how you're going to approach homeschooling, where do you find curriculum? We have great resources in our area listed here. The staff at those stores and at the Scope Library are very knowledgeable and helpful. There are also local and statewide conferences, though obviously right now those are all canceled. But conferences are great not only for the classes, but for the vendor halls, full of people who can clearly explain the various curriculums and approaches. Beyond curriculum, always remember the things that are most important to your family. As we see every day in the media and around us, a whole lot of very important skills are not being taught anymore, and that's a tragedy. So remember to be aware of the non-curriculum skills that you want your kids to be learning. High school. It doesn't have to be scary. 2 of our oldest spent their junior and senior years at a charter school for various reasons, and 1 graduated as a private homeschooler. All 3 went on to college and have done great. With Scope and Shia, we have some really great support. And at age 16, our kids are eligible to start taking classes in the local junior colleges. This is awesome for dual credits and for giving our kids a jump start on college. Junior colleges don't require a diploma, just basic entry exams for placement in math and language arts. For entry directly into a 4-year college, you can apply as an independent homeschooler, though some schools make that kind of difficult. It may be easier to use a PSP through high school so that your student receives a diploma if immediate entry into a 4-year school is the goal. But it can definitely be done as a private home educator too. We decided early on that whatever I missed teaching in high school, they would probably be going over again in college, so I didn't worry too much about it. And that's held true for the most part. For special needs students, PSPs are great resources to still have access to IEP help. And there are lots of families around who have walked this path ahead of you and have great ideas and connections. It is doable. Socialization makes me laugh. Every year, I have more trouble actually keeping us home to get some book work done than I do finding socialization opportunities. We have so many classes and co-ops and options in our area. When you read these definitions, think about what group you want your child learning to imitate. Is it a classroom of children all your child's age? Is it a mixed group of ages? Is it people who feel strongly about the things you feel strongly about? Do you want your children to learn to respect, talk to, and get along with people of all backgrounds, ages, and beliefs? So, if and when you're interested in taking this path, I recommend joining HSLDA first. Their website is hslda.org. So join HSLDA and then withdraw your child from school if he is still enrolled somewhere. Prepare for new routines. This is a new way of doing things, so it's going to take some figuring out. Start slowly and be patient with yourself and with your children. Keep a long-term perspective, plan some fun, and participate in ongoing parent education and training. So there are your basics. I'm so grateful that you watched, that you were with me and are considering privately home educating. We'll do some Q&A stuff soon, and you can feel free to message me on Facebook. God bless.